I'm Emery-Smith. Everything is horrible.
So we didn't really have insiders coming forward anymore. Something about whatever happened during the Obama administration, and again, I don't really blame Obama for this. When people were saying, oh my God, David, you said they were going to go arrest Obama. Look, you have to understand, he definitely was fighting them when he first got started, because they groomed him. He didn't know what he was getting himself into. He didn't know where this was going. And I've talked before about that 20-minute meeting that he had with George Bush Sr. It's documented in writing in lots of mainstream media publications, when all the former presidents got together for their luncheon after he won the election, before the inauguration took place. They had this president's meeting, and it says Obama and Bush Sr. went off for a private one-on-one 20-minute meeting. And it was during that meeting, and it's very sad, that Bush Sr. starts calling him the N-word, starts cursing, and multiple times, okay? And said, listen, you effing N, if you ever think you're going to do one thing other than exactly what we tell you, we will torture and rape and kill your daughters in front of you slowly, and you'll get to watch the whole thing. So the poor guy, I mean, you can't become president without having some of these horrible things happen to you. And the Trump issue, again, is a very controversial issue, but what we heard was Jerome Corsi recently was at the D.C. National Press Club. There was an Alex Jones event going on there. And what they're doing now in the media is they're trying to say that anybody who believes in any government wrongdoing is a conspiracy theorist. Any conspiracy theorist is on the alt-right, and alt-right people are Nazis and white supremacists. So that's how they're trying to marginalize this community. And it's really not cool. So sometimes even just mentioning Alex Jones, oh, he's alt-right. And they're trying to load up that statement where alt-right means Nazi, white supremacist, Ku Klux Klan, you know, whistle through your teeth and spit redneck, basically, like crazy. So anyway, I don't think that's what's going on here. Alex Jones has been doing this ever since I got online in 1995 and before then. And a lot of the things that he was predicting back in the old days didn't happen. The FEMA camps, he was predicting that, martial law, that stuff didn't happen. But Jerome Corsi is one of his top insiders, and Jerome Corsi was contacted 3 years ago by 3 top generals in the U.S. saying that they were going to arrest the President of the United States. Now bear in mind, if he says this in 2018, that goes back to 2015, which is right in the thick, if you guys have been following my website, of when I was really predicting mass arrests right around the corner. It looked like it could happen at any time, and the deep state has continued to leak these provocative pieces of information about space-oriented things, which appears to be their fail-safe plan. In other words, they need to have something in the news that they can use to suddenly throw us into disclosure. So they have to keep putting these out there. So back in 2015, and if you saw in my other talk, they start coming out with the fact that Mars had water on it. They start coming out with the fact that Ceres, this planetoid around Jupiter, had these glowing spots. And as the planetoid rotates, the glow stays consistent. They were talking all this really cool stuff that they could use. So what we heard was that instead of them arresting the president, which would have been a mass arrest, bear in mind, it's so understated when they say they were going to arrest the president. This would have been an operation that would have involved probably tens of thousands of arrests all at the same time. So don't just think, oh yeah, they're going to go and they're going to nab Obama. No, it's much, much bigger than that. And Obama, unfortunately, appears to have gotten involved in enough compromises, enough things where he didn't really want to have to make a certain decision, but he got pressured into it. I believe that the reason why they would arrest him is not ultimately for him to be accused as a criminal and spend the rest of his life in prison. It's so that he would tell his story, so that he would leak the information of what happened to him, so that he would be subpoenaed in front of a grand jury in a Nuremberg-style trial and totally spill the beans about that meeting with Bush Sr., about what they forced him to do, about what's really going on, name names, and bring this whole cabal down to its knees, which we really need. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So look, I don't expect anybody to support the President of the United States. I'm not trying to push a political agenda here. But I also want to point out something. Isn't it interesting how much the media hates this guy? 90% negative coverage, right? Isn't it interesting that we've never seen a real war between the media and the President of the United States in American history? Never before. So, Jerome Corsi's testimony was that 2 weeks after these three generals called him up, they called him again in 2015 and said, now we have another alternative besides arresting the president, which would have been violent, it would have created a lot of chaos, might not have worked out the way we wanted it to. We're going to ask Donald Trump to run for president. And Jerome Corsi probably started laughing. But what we heard was, and this is from multiple insiders again, that they brought Trump in, these generals brought him in, sat him down for 2 weeks of just grueling briefings. And during those 2 weeks just laid out the whole elaborate big picture of what's really going on with the deep state, with the Illuminati, with the cabal. And this gets into the stuff that you would never want to see. The videos of what they really do with a sacrificial victim, for example. Horrible, horrible stuff. And he was very reticent, Trump was very reticent to get involved at first, but they told him, look, you're the only chance we have because you actually could pay for your own campaign. And you could actually bring this material out to the world as a politician running for office. You can say the things that nobody else would say because they're all bought and paid for. And so, if you look at the election, it was Bush versus Clinton. It was Jeb versus Hillary. Jeb had like $135 million donated to his campaign. But there was just no story in that for us, right? Like, who the heck wants to see Bush versus Clinton for president? I mean, really? Is it like, are we in some kind of fever dream or something? And Trump just laid waste to these bought-out politicians. I mean, it was freaking amazing. It actually made me laugh my ass off. Because every single time that he's hitting Hillary with all these provable facts that you can research in 5 minutes, she just goes, ha, 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 ha. It's like, whoa, man. Never even acknowledged it, never even said a word in her defense. She just laughed over and over again. And so now we have a situation where, whether you like it or not, all of our insiders are saying that the alliance is now in control of the U.S. government on the executive level. And I think that's worthy of a round of applause. Absolutely. But you look at what happens when he says we're getting big in space for this and other reasons, and we want to have a space force. And these soldiers behind him, as I showed you the other day, everybody is smiling, laughing. They don't take this seriously. So, just to finish up this particular thing, the quote here, he says, because we are doing a tremendous amount of work in space, which again, what the hell does he mean, tremendous amount of work in space? This is really cool. It's like all of the things that I've been telling you are starting to happen. And William Tompkins was the only cool insider we had since Corey came forward in 2015. And I've known Emery, but I didn't think Emery was ever going to come forward. And so, you know, let's sign up for the Space Force, dude. What do you think?
I'm going to do that tonight online.
That could be the big breaking story. So I want to try to put this all together, and that's part of what I feel is an effective use of our time here. Because I have you on stage, and I can go a lot more in depth here. The format on Cosmic Disclosure is I have to ask a simple question, 1 or 2 sentences long, and you answer it. Whereas now I can actually do,
we can get raw.
more of an in-depth thing.
Well,